this is not, I'm not saying this is the proper way to do it, but this is the way I make solder connections. Now, this connection, these stripped parts of wire are 1/4 inch long. I could make it 1/8 of an inch, but for ease of viewing on the video, I made them 1/4 of an inch. This is, like I said, this is my preferred method. It makes a clean joint. It's not much bigger than the actual wire itself, and it seems to work very well. I've done connections like this and went to rip them apart, and have actually broken the wire, not the solder, just to test how strong they were. Now, this is the brush holder from that motor. I got the idea to do this video. This is the brush holder from that motor I burned up from the Hoover. But anyways, let's get on with it. What I normally do, first step, if the wire is not nice and pretty copper, I will clean it with a razor blade or X-Acto knife or something. Scrape it till I have nice, pretty, clean copper. And what I like to use is paste flux, just solder paste flux. I'll take both ends of my wire, put a little bit of paste flux on them. And what I've always preferred to use is good old-fashioned soldering gun. I've used a few irons. I think mainly my problem with irons are the good ones, the good small soldering irons are pricey. This whole Weller soldering gun is, I think, 26, 27 bucks. So it's not very expensive. It heats up very fast. It's a little bit big, but I mean, I might mainly do wiring. I don't touch circuit boards or anything like that. So this is fine for my purposes. So anyways, I heat the soldering iron up, or soldering gun in this case. I just get it to where I can tin the end of it a little bit. Okay, so I touch the end of one of the wires, touch the solder at the same time, and you'll see once the solder starts flowing onto the wire. And what you end up with is a nice little tinned end on your wire. This one's got a bit of a glob on it, but that'll actually help later. I do that on both sides. Just tin this one. Try not to put so much of a glob on this one. Okay, so if this wouldn't be an open-ended wire, at this point I'd put my heat shrink on. Now, what I'll do is I'll get my soldering iron good and hot. Back on the workbench here. And I'll touch my two wires together, and there we go. Once I heat it up, that's my solder connection right there. Alright. Slide my heat shrink over. Grab my heat gun, which of course is not plugged in. Plug this in real quick. My workshop's quite a mess. For years I did soldering heat shrink with a cigarette lighter, and you tend to burn the heat shrink and everything else. Having a heat gun, I mean, this is an expensive heat gun. I got it used from a family member, but you can just a cheap $20 heat gun will do wonders with heat shrink. And you can see it's not very much bigger than the actual wire itself. And you can, I don't know if you can tell in this video, there's a little bit of sealant oozing out of the sides of this heat shrink. Now, one thing, this heat shrink I buy, I actually get it from Harbor Freight. I buy it in packs. marine heat shrink tubing. I think it's $4 or $5 for a box. Every time I go to Harbor Freight, I pick up 4 or 5 boxes of this stuff. It is great. It's got sealant inside the heat shrink. When it shrinks down, it puts sealant in the connection, so it makes it waterproof. Works great. It's actually really good heat shrink. It's one of the few really good things at Harbor Freight. Really good bargain. But as you can see, it's easy as that. I will say the flux is key. I know a lot of people that did not know how to use flux with their solder, and we're having huge issues trying to get their solder to stick. Also, if you just get the wire hot enough to where the solder just kind of puddles on top of it, it's not going to make a very good joint. It's going to make what is referred to as a cold joint, and the solder won't adhere to the wire all that well, so you won't get good penetration with your solder. Another key is using good solder, not the lead-free stuff. You buy the good leaded solder. Leaded solder, a little bit of paste flux, and you've pretty much got it made. You can make connections like this. You can make lineman splices. Well, hell, I soldered this on there to power that motor up. I mean, you can, if it's clean, you can solder anything to anything. I mean, pretty much, wiring wise at least. But anyways, that's just a little quick tutorial on what I do for soldering.